Welcome. This is a recording of adults playing or talking about tabletop games. This means that adult language and/or themes may occur within that could be seen as inappropriate for younger audiences. Thank you. Hey guys, John here. Just wanted to go over um, tonight's session. We had, I'd like to think, probably our best session so far. Um, Mind you that tonight's number 6, but I'd like to still think that everyone's improving, and there was a lot of really good input from the players tonight, and a lot of smiling going around. Also, if you notice, one of the reasons I know that there was a lot of smiling going around and good times was everyone had a cam. Finally, um, Pika was able to get a cam for his birthday. Um, I spent $20 because there was a sale on Amazon and was able to get Andrew a cam. Our guest had a cam already, so overall it was really nice to have that, and I think that really aided to the overall enjoyment of the game so far. Um, as I said earlier, we had a new player. Steven came in. He's a college buddy of mine. He has never played a tabletop ever in his entire life. He's always been really interested in it, but he never could find the right group and have a good cohesion of players. And through just kind of talking with him over a group project, he was able to join us. And he had a great time. He said so at the end. He's going to be joining us for next week's session to finish up the storyline, and we'll see where it goes from there with him. But it was really nice to have him along, and I think overall he did a really good job of aiding the players as a whole with what they needed to get done, thinking things through. He's a really smart guy, so really helped. And then we got to pop his tabletop cherry, which is kind of cool. I love seeing new players just leap right in like he did. He was not afraid whatsoever. It's one of the reasons that I thought he'd be a good addition to the group. I think he probably did more talking than anyone else in the game besides maybe me, because I had a lot of narration tonight. But yeah, so overall, I think that was really great. Obviously, he plays Manny a lot different than I did. I know the group kind of preferred my methodology, a little bit more snot-nosed kid versus like probably bloodthirsty. But at least as far as him jumping right into things and doing things and asking questions, yeah, he wasn't the most exact to fitting his character, but I built Manny, so I know how Manny was supposed to be played. Um, he didn't make his character at all. We kind of just had like a 5 minute conversation about what he wanted to play, and that's how I built Manny. So obviously, in that situation, if he wants to play more and the group decides that he's a great addition to the team, and we take on a fifth player, he'll be making his own player. That way, he knows exactly how the character works, how the character thinks. We get to do all the background questions and really make a really solid character so that he's not playing something that someone else built. And I think that'll be okay. I mean, everything tonight, I was completely okay, and the players kind of understood that tonight's session and then next time session is actually built more for Manny, since it's around Manny Station and Steven's playing, and I wanted to kind of give him a really good introduction and understanding and feel on what a fun group and what a fun time you can have doing tabletops. Tonight dealt with a major issue. You guys probably, by the time you see this, the sessions have already come out. We had really heavy torture go on in the session. I don't try to pull too many punches as far as descriptions go, or concepts or things that I'm willing to talk about. Um, Obviously, I stay away from certain subjects just because it's highly offensive to other people. But as far as like gore and shock factor and stuff, I'm not afraid to jump right in and deal with those things. As you know, if you come from Kiro's channel and we were watching the Mutants and Masterminds game, I had one of the players straight up torture a kid at one point. I'm willing to bridge those social lines. As far as descriptions and stuff go, I was a little sad. I actually put a lot of twisted time into developing that school. I created torture techniques for every room in there. I was fully willing to talk about it if they were going to involve themselves more with the people. I actually had it set up that technically they could have probably only went to like 4 rooms in a night, dealing with the players, and I didn't know if they were going to rescue the players or not. Like they straight up like let the victims, the NPCs, just kind of sit there. And I actually had a whole setup ready for them trying to rescue them, but they kind of just let them rot. And there's reasons for that. I know because obviously they're trying to catch the Inquisitor, and once that's done, then maybe they can release everyone. But I was surprised they didn't try more than what they did. As far as the campaign goes, troubles or problems. One of the big problems was we were missing Nate, who plays Flowers. I had a lot of questions for his character during that like give and take question game that was going on. There was a lot for his character. He's actually the only player that hasn't written. No, that's a lie. He did write a bio. I take that back. I'm wrong. But there's a lot of like missing stuff in his bio, and I wanted to really kind of flesh that out. Tonight, in my mind, was really oriented around filling in a lot of details on their bios for their characters. They have to basically talk about 20-ish years of their character in half a page, and that can be really tough. And so, especially for new players, I can write 2 pages about one of my characters any day, and some of them I do. But I wanted to kind of build on them a little bit more, get to know the inner workings of their mind, and let the players realize these inner workings. And I kind of didn't get to do that as much as I wanted to. The players originally were kind of like enthusiastic about the questions, and then when they started to realize that all of his questions were for malicious means, I don't know where they thought that he wouldn't be. But they kind of got really terrified about the subject, which is good, but they didn't power through the terror. They kind of like let it like control their decisions a little bit. And so like you'll see they come up with these absolutely amazing ideas, these amazing questions. And Kiro's Twitch chat was throwing out good ideas too, and they just ignored them. And that was really unfortunate because there was a lot of stuff that I built. This is lots of information about the world, lots of information about the Inquisitor, lots of information about materials and things and stuff. And I was ready to answer it all. And they kind of just glossed over it. They didn't let themselves risk being questioned. And that was a little unfortunate, but I guess I did a really good job about terrifying them. And it only really took about 2 to 3 rooms before they were really sober and straight up like not wanting to even hear about the torment, what kind of torture techniques I was using in the rooms. So, oh well, on that, my advice if you're running a torture type campaign is draw it out a little bit more. I think I went a little bit overboard for a set of new players. I wanted to basically kind of like just slam them with like shock factor. That's usually how I used to do it. When I had like a more experienced team, they were less worried about torture because they'd seen it a couple times. They dealt with it in their characters and playing the game and stuff like that. It wasn't something raw to them. And I made the mistake of basically doing what I normally do to an experienced player with inexperienced players. Like I said, I'm not used to inexperienced players, at least a group of them. I'm used to, at least half of them to 3/4 of them being experienced. So there was that. Because Nate was missing, I wasn't ready for having to ask the same players more questions. I actually had a bunch for like certain people. What I was mainly trying to do is I was trying to target people that don't have as easy a time with role playing, and basically make them role play a little bit. Bring those people that are a little bit quieter, like Nate, like Pika, and and bring them a little bit forward and make them talk a little bit more and get used to being in the spotlight. Um, so someone like Zach, who, playing Zeke, he got a lot of it tonight, and he actually got a really nice like little session where it's just him and I. Unfortunately, it was at the end, and everyone was a little tired, but there was this really good session where he got to kind of like throw his guts all out there, and he really went for it as best as he could, and he asked some great questions, and the other players were like, oh shit, we totally should have done this earlier. And it was kind of a cool idea. And Zach was really smart for it. And I caught on to it pretty quick that he was doing that. But, I'm not going to argue with him. It's not like I'm going to be like, no, 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 kind of thing. But yeah, it was really good. So one of the things that I talked about at the end that I wanted to go over with you guys real quick is how do you deal with a full role playing session? Um, the reason being I wanted to talk about this, at least for people out there, is as some of the people that have been watching the videos specifically notice that there's an RP problem in our team where people aren't good at role playing. Also, the dealing with people that either really enjoy role playing or really hate role playing. I'm a person overall when I'm a player, which I haven't done in a really really long time. But I'm a person when I play, I don't like to role play. I like playing the dumb character that really like just fucking dives in there and swings a giant battle axe and fucks everything up. I don't like to role play. I leave that to other people, and it always aggravates me as a non role playing person to deal with someone that wants to talk their way out of everything because they find that fun, and it's not fun for me. So in a session like tonight where I go into it pretty much expecting role playing, you just have to find ways to engage them. Originally, I had combat set up in the campaign tonight, um, but the players evaded it. They snuck by everything. Early on in the campaign, you'll see that they do a bunch of sneak rolls, and they just did really well on the rolls. None of them really did very bad. So it was kind of okay. We brought up to Zach that he was able to scout, and so he did. And then the scouting worked out, and it actually worked out better than I thought because he started rolling high. They avoided combat. As far as that goes, though, the real big thing is to make sure that the bruisers, the brawlers, the fighters really get involved. Make sure that you find a way to make them tick. So in a situation, which is one of the reasons that I kind of wanted Nate here, is so I could kind of get him in. Nate loves puzzles, so he would be all over this and want to ask questions. You'll watch Steven. He plays a very brawly character. He kind of wanted to punch things, and he was really excited for combat tonight, and we didn't get any. That's okay though. He got really into figuring things out. Now, mind you, the story is oriented around his character, so that helps a little bit. But you can work with it. The hardest person that I had tonight was Kiro. And at one point, she actually said during the questioning that she felt that she was targeted, that I kept asking her stuff. And that was deliberate because it was very hard to keep her entertained. So if she doesn't have anything to do, if she just wants to punch things, then she's going to get bored. And she specifically said, she was getting frustrated with all the questions, the lack of activity, that we would spend, 5 minutes talking about a question and then no one would end up asking a question, which is okay, but for her, she needed to stay active. So that's why I started focusing a lot of the questions to her versus anyone else. So that got her involved a little bit more, that she had to think. And that's the best that you can really do in a situation like that. A player like Steven who really wants to figure things out, he's going to try to figure things out no matter what. So there was a little bit of that. There was a little bit of like kind of feeling the new group. Steven was trying to figure out what he can get away with and what he can't. And, there's a lot of like, testing the waters and stuff like that. As far as outsmarting your players, at one point I got caught tonight. I wasn't ready for a question that Kiro asked, and that was, what is the Inquisitor's greatest fear? and um, the answer I gave for him was certainly not the strongest, but it's the answer I could think of at the time. Um, and as a GM, I'd say it was probably a failure. Like that was my mistake of the night, my big mistake of the night, and that's because my brain just shut down. Um, GMs in general, you have to be pretty good at improv. You have to be really uh, fast thinking. A lot of wit. At least that's my opinion. And I choked on that question. I was so not ready for something as intense as that kind of question, which I should have been. I should have actually like totally like had an answer for every question I asked them, in case they like be like, oh yeah, well what's yours, But I didn't. I fucked up. Um, so that was a problem. But you just run with it, and so I thought up of something, and it was an okay answer. I'd rate it on like a 6 out of 10, um, versus some of the others. Um, you'll hear a couple times I'll give an answer and someone's like, "Oh, that's weak." Um, I think that overall, it's just because it's not the answer that they wanted. A lot of times when you're doing a riddle type game, a game within a game, and you're having to outsmart players, you're just not going to be able to do it. There's four of them, there's one of you, and you have like boatloads of information, so you got to hide 100 things about your environment, your character, your things, where they don't actually have to hide anything. Um, so it's significantly more difficult for you as a GM to do that. And so when they do those, oh that's weak, I I guess I was slightly sad that I didn't have the answer that they wanted, or the cool answer that they wanted. Um, that's just the way things go realistically. I don't think that I don't think some of the answers were like the best answer in the world. I mean, you just can't do that. But I was happy with every answer I gave in an overall context. I didn't give away anything that I didn't want to give away. And I gave away everything that I wanted them to hear, um, except for that terror question, which I honestly, I can't even reasonably think what it would be now. Um, but I probably could have came up with something way cooler if I thought about it, aggressively. Is there anything else? No. I did shadowing this time. It was really easy in case anyone's ever wondering about using it in Roll20. It was actually a lot simpler. I used it way, way back when Roll20 was first introduced, and it was terrible. But I guess maybe because I have the subscription, I have a lot of tools that maybe I didn't have, or they've just improved on it. But it is absolutely phenomenal. The double layering dim and things like that was really, really cool. And you guys don't get to see so much of that because you're on the DM side. You're seeing my screen, and I need to see the whole map at any given time. But you'll see a little bit of that. Particularly, you won't see the dimming. There's actually double rings. So one's like a really bright ring, which is like their immediate. I can see this really well, and then there's like it's like kind of obscured by shadow ring, which is a really cool thing that Roll20 really implemented into the game, and I loved it. It was so cool. I had a really good time, like actually populating that map and moving tokens around and stuff like that. So it was very cool to do. And it really added to the ambiance. Um, so yeah, last thing I can think of is my apologies to the volume on this one. For some reason, all of my volume got royally fucked, and I only kind of figured out some of it about like maybe a quarter through. I realized that some volumes were really loud. My volume was really loud. Maybe I was excited or something. I don't know, but that one I had to crank it way down at one point, and then the music was like fucking insanely loud compared to what I wanted it to be. So I'll try to do as best I can on the editing, but probably not going to be too hot. So my apologies if I'm a little too loud. I think that'll be probably the biggest thing is that I'm going to be too loud, but we'll see when I actually get to the editing. I'm not going to do that tonight. other than that, thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. And as always, if you have any questions, please, please, please um, put a comment, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. Like I said, with a really small community of viewers, I can answer everything at the moment. So please take advantage of that. Bye, guys.